This is Focus with Julie Oberlander.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Oberlander, filling in for Jack Cottle on this month's edition of Focus. And this month we are focusing on volunteerism and charitable giving. And I am joined by three lovely ladies from here in the Black Hills area: Renee Parker with the United Way of the Black Hills, Liz Hamburg with the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, and Lynn Taylor-Rick with the 211 Helpline. So, ladies, first of all, thanks so much for joining us this evening. And I'm sure most people at home have at least heard of your three organizations and agencies, but let's give them a little more information about your missions and kind of what you hope to accomplish here in the Black Hills. So Renee, we'll just go ahead and start with you. Tell us a little more about the United Way.
Well, United Way of the Black Hills raises money to distribute to 55 area nonprofit organizations, and they all work together to help solve community needs and problems. We have affiliates in Rapid City, Sturgis, Northern Hills, and the Southern Hills, and the money that's raised in each of those respective areas stays there. So we rely a lot on volunteerism throughout all of our Hills areas.
All right. Now, Liz, a lot of people maybe don't know much about the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, so tell us what your goals are.
Sure. Well, our mission is to provide philanthropic leadership to build community endowments and invest in the people and solutions that positively impact the Black Hills. What we do is we connect people who care to causes that matter. What we are is a nonprofit foundation. We're a nonprofit organization. We house a variety of donated funds, over 80 right now, and they're supported by a wide range of donors. We provide ongoing long-term support of the good work that's being done all over the Black Hills area. We serve all of western South Dakota, 12 counties. Wow. And in addition to these long-term investments that we house, we also do grant making, and we administer scholarships. So, for example, last year we gave over in 2006 we gave over, since 2006, we've given $6 million
wow.
to nonprofits in scholarships in the Black Hills.
That is a good chunk of change. Okay, Lynn, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what 211 and what
Sure.
your goals are.
The Helpline Center Volunteer Connections program is relatively new. In fact, it's a year old this month. Wow. And it was added. Its ultimate goal is to connect agencies that need volunteers with volunteers in the community. The program kind of revolves around an online database where agencies, and we've got just under 100 agencies, they list their volunteer needs. Then the public can go to that at helplincenter.org, find a volunteer opportunity that fits their time frame, their interest, their skill set, and connect right through that database. They can also call 211, and I will connect them with those agencies. And then we do some support to volunteer managers in the community, but the ultimate overall goal is just to get those volunteers with the agencies that need the volunteers.
Fantastic. Okay, so the personal finance website Wallet Hub created a list of the most and least charitable states in 2014, looking at things like volunteer rates and the percentage of people who donated time and or money. And the Mount Rushmore state scored very well on this survey, ranking second overall behind only Utah. Why do you think that is? What makes South Dakotans so giving, if you will? Renee, tell us what you think.
I think that South Dakotans are very connected to the people who are in need of help the most, and I think many of them have maybe been on hard times themselves. So they know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of assistance, and they want to give back. I can't tell you how many times people have told me that what they have been given, they want to give back. It creates almost a chain reaction. And so I think we're very, very close to people here in our local community that do need help. We want to help our neighbors who are in need.
Liz, what do you think? What do South Dakotans have that maybe some other places don't?
Actually, I agree with Renee. I mean, South Dakotans are the salt of the earth. We're a lot of small towns. We're a lot of family-focused people, and we like to take care of our own. So, you know, for example, Rancher Relief, when we were hosting the Rancher Relief Fund, over $5 million came in to help those ranchers, and 48% of that came from South Dakotans.
Wow. Very cool. Lynn, what do you see at 211? What do you hear from people maybe who you are connecting with and getting them connected to those other agencies?
Well, they're excited to have some place to find this. That's the first thing they tell me. But all of them, every person I've talked to said, well, I just, I have a little free time. And a lot of them they're not necessarily retired, but they want to do something. They want to give back in the community. And they don't always necessarily say it in that way, but that's what it is. They were talking about, well, I had kind of a rough stretch, and now I'd kind of like to help out. And that happens fairly often, where someone who had a rough stretch was helped by a nonprofit, and then after they kind of get on their feet, they'll go back and help that nonprofit. And South Dakota is 7th in volunteerism rates, so we do very well in volunteerism rates as well. So.
All right, yeah, one of the higher scores was in the giving of time, the people who claim they gave the most time. Do you want to talk a little bit about, I know I checked out some charts that you sent, where people are anxious to volunteer. So what are you seeing as far as trends go?
Yeah, they're, with churches, that's kind of the leading one in the state. That's a big one, but also a lot of civic, a lot of nonprofit. I think some of the statistics are South Dakota volunteers give an average of 34.5 hours annually, and that's a pretty big chunk if you think about that. Economically, that's $483.5 million, so the economic impact of that is amazing. I mean, these nonprofits couldn't pay, they could not afford to pay and continue to carry on their mission, so that volunteering is just critical to them getting their job done.
Very much so. All right, thank you. Well, okay, let's go back to Renee here. Every year, the United Way Day of Caring is a great example of volunteerism. We just saw it on Thursday of this last week. Talk about how this day came about and how much local volunteers do in one afternoon.
Well, we have had our United Way Day of Caring now for 17 years.
Wow.
And we started with where we could just put all the volunteers on the stage and snap a little picture, and now we fill the Civic Center. We have 1,350 people coming tomorrow for our United Way Day of Caring, and all of those volunteers are going to be out all afternoon volunteering their time to help someone who is either elderly or disabled or for a nonprofit organization. So I did bring a little prop along today. Sure. So when you see these shirts tomorrow on those 1,350 folks, know that those people are out volunteering their time that afternoon to help someone who is in need. And I've just heard from so many people say it's just a real feel-good day when you just know that you've done something to help someone else.
And a lot of times you'll see people wear them, of course, throughout the year, and you know, oh, they gave a little bit of their time as well. Yes. In more recent years, I've noticed, I think one year we got an email that said, if you know of somebody who has a project that needs to be done, please tell us, because you're almost to the point where you have so many volunteers and the projects are maybe not as prevalent this time of year or whatever. So what does that say to you?
It just says that, I mean, people really do want to help. They do, and they enjoy the connections that they have with other people who are in need. I think they learn from people like that. In fact, I frequently will hear from a senior citizen who says, oh, I couldn't possibly ask a volunteer to help me. And what we always ask them is, well, will you help us? Because people want to have that volunteer experience.
Sounds good. Okay, so talk a little bit about how your agencies maybe work together to make all of these, whether it's volunteering time or giving money, work in our community. I'll go ahead to you, Liz.
Sure. A lot of what we do with the foundation is connect with people like Renee and Lynn and others in the community to find out what good work is being done. What needs are not being addressed, and how can we work together to address those needs. So I've been in plenty of meetings with both of these ladies and a variety of other people, but because we all care about the community and we all want to make a difference and make sure that our dollars and time make a difference.
Well, and we talked about, a lot of South Dakotans in the Wallet Hub survey, at least they were saying, more people, the time was the bigger of the two things between the two. So Liz, where does that make it a little tough for you? Because I think people do tend to be maybe a little more giving of their time versus money. Maybe they don't have as much money to give. So how do you deal with that people say, well, I want to help, but I don't have the money to give to a foundation? What do you say to that?
There are a lot of different ways to give. There are people that can write the checks. There are people that can donate their time. There are people that can redirect some savings that they might have down the road. For example, I know of a person who donated. They had a college fund for their son, and they just kept contributing, except instead of when their son graduated, it became a fund that then generated income for a nonprofit. So, there are a lot of different ways to do things.
A little at a time, every dollar really does count.
That's right.
All right, well, we are off to a good start on this edition of Focus. We will be back in just a moment with more with these lovely ladies and talk about volunteerism and charitable giving. Stay with us. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus. I'm Julie Oberlander, filling in for Jack Cottle this month. We're talking about volunteerism and charitable giving, and I'm interested to know a little bit about where maybe manpower, what agencies, what organizations in our community, Lynn, where manpower maybe can do a little bit more than money can. Maybe they are better off financially, but they actually need the helping hand. Where do you see that the most?
Sure. Well, I think any agency in town would willingly take a check.
That's true.
That's true, no matter how well out there. And I would say most agencies in town, I don't think any of them are living particularly large. They're all very, very fiscally responsible. They're really, so probably I would say that volunteering is the big key for them, because they can't pay someone to file their taxes even. I mean, there are those kind of volunteer opportunities even. We've got right now at this moment, and it changes every day, we've got 219 volunteer opportunities listed on our database. And it is literally everything from helping with paperwork, stuffing envelopes, to mowing the lawn, to being a CASA volunteer, to going to the hospital for WAVY, for a woman who's been abused. So there's such a variety that there's really something for everybody. And I think any agency would be thrilled to have volunteers, but they'd also be thrilled to have checks too. So.
You mentioned a couple, CASA and WAVY. There are some restrictions on who can volunteer. Do you make that clear in your database so that people are really, they know what they're getting into before they're going to those agencies?
And that's really what's great about this database is you can go in and say, I'm free on Saturdays, and click that filter. I want to do this. I am this age, and it will filter all that. And then it will, every one of those will say whether you have to have a background check, or you don't have to have a background check, whether a court order volunteer could do that. So it really lays that out for people so they kind of know what they're getting into. But obviously people can express an interest through the database and then find out more about it from the agency. And I've had some agencies say, yeah, that person just, it wasn't right for them, but I directed them toward a friend of mine who works at this agency. So I think everyone kind of works together, and they knew it wasn't going to work for them. You don't want to volunteer that's not going to work for you, for your agency. So you kind of fit them where they will fit.
And you said age is not an issue in
most
of the time.
Right now, volunteers don't have to register on our database, but many of them do, and it's great if they do because the agencies can kind of track their hours that way. But in the most recent report, our youngest volunteer was 13 and our oldest was 80. So we have an incredible wide range of ages out there working in the community.
All right. Renee, you said earlier you work with about 50 nonprofits around the Black Hills. So where do you see the need maybe for manpower, and then also maybe the need for the finances too?
I think with volunteerism, when we read through all of the applications from all the United Way agencies, we ask them how many people volunteer for your organization and how many hours. You would just be so proud to read how many people donate their time and how many hours. And every one of our any one of our agencies would tell you that there's no way that they could accomplish their missions without the help of their volunteers who just step up and do things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. But I think it's a wide range. I don't think there's any one organization that needs it any more than the other. Okay. There's just a lot of need. It's just that whatever your interest might be, if you love working with kids, there's a lot of youth serving organizations that are there, and you can do everything from tutoring to teaching kids how to photograph, or maybe taking them on some kind of a field trip with another group of adults. I mean, there's just so many things that they could do with kids. We now have the grade level reading initiative here in Rapid City, and United Way is spearheading the effort for that. And we know that there will be a lot more volunteer opportunities down the road for tutoring, helping kids to read. Those things are really prevalent. But you can do everything from sorting cans at the food bank to being a mentor for someone.
Sure.
It's just it's a wide range.
Sure. Liz, how great is the need right now financially? I don't know how we're doing. I don't know if we're seeing a lot of donations. What are you seeing locally as far as people willing to give, and where the need seems to be coming the most?
From where I sit today, it's more about the giver and the passion that they have. Renee was talking about people that are interested in working with young people, and so that is where I make the connections to find those organizations that those people care about. direct them to the work that's being done, the campaign for grade level reading, and all the different agencies that are involved in that. But there are plenty of donors and plenty of that want to address basic needs: food, housing, clothing, transportation, those kinds of things too are needs in our community, and everybody has an area that they want to focus on. It might be because they volunteered there, or it might be because they're just familiar with the good work that agency does.
Sure. Does it ever surprise you that sometimes the person who you think maybe doesn't have much to give still gives? And I'm going to give an example. I have a firefighter husband, and they of course do the MDA Fill the Boot campaign once a year, and I've heard firemen say, it was some guy in a beat up old car, he put a 20 in my boot. And every year somebody has that kind of story. So Renee, does it ever surprise you? Do you have any good stories of where some of these things, whether it was somebody who volunteered who you thought there's no way they could, be able to do that, or maybe put in extra money that you just go, and obviously we're not naming names, but you must have some stories.
Well, I will say that we process about 8,000 pledge forms every single year, and we get to see every one of them. And it always surprises me that the people who earn the least are the ones who really give the most. It's really amazing and very, very heartwarming to see that someone who has so little to give still wants to participate. And I think that's one thing that's very, very nice with a payroll deduction campaign. People can give $1 a pay period or $5 a pay period and really feel that they're part of something, and they want to do that. And so it's very gratifying. Those gifts, when you have little kids come in on our Get the Pack Back Day, and they've been saving their change all year long, and they come in with their little piggy bank and sit it on our desk and say, could you just give somebody some food with this money? I mean, it's just so darling. But what's nice about that also is that that child is being taught the value of giving back, the value of saving their money and giving it to someone else in need, or volunteering their time to help someone else in need. And that's something that's, I think, really important in our generation, is to be sure that those young people are brought up that way.
Pass it on.
Pass it on.
Liz, any good stories of, I think the Rancher Relief Fund was a good example of people who, some of them had been affected themselves, but were still contributing. Where have you seen some good examples of, people who really dug deep to give back?
Yeah, the Rancher Relief Fund is a really good example of that. Everybody saw the devastation, everybody felt the devastation in western South Dakota, and it was amazing where the contributions were coming from, and it was amazing the people that were donating to help these ranchers. So that, that is one example. Another example would be a study that I recently heard about the profession that is the most giving, leaving an endowment in their will or leaving a gift in their will, and those are teachers. Teachers are those that, they're the teachers that have connected with kids, they're the teachers that care about the growth of their community, and they are the most giving profession.
It doesn't surprise me personally, but that's a great statistic. Okay, we are going to take one more quick break. We will be right back with Focus. Welcome back to Focus. We're talking tonight about giving, both time and treasure, and some of the challenges with getting people to give both time and treasure. So Liz, let's start with you. The stock market had a terrible August. And I just wonder, when you are looking at a foundation, and you talked about the millions of dollars you guys have given out over the years, but I'm sure a lot of that is dependent on people and their retirement being okay, and their own stocks and IRAs doing okay. So what kind of challenges are you seeing?
Sure. Well, that's a good point. And the reality is everyone needs to take care of themselves, and you need to take care of your children, and then hopefully you have that generosity to take care of others around you. And so I think that our challenge is to keep people thinking in that direction. Not so much. We're not so much focused on the day-to-day writing of the check, but in the long-term investment in the future. And so that's our challenge, is to communicate that with everybody and make sure that they understand that a little bit now makes a big difference later. It's like planting a tree instead of planting a flower. It's going to be there for generations.
Okay. Lynn, you also, with the 2-on-1 and trying to connect people, we live such busy lifestyles now. And so I think that a lot of people go, and I've seen it and I've probably said it too, I don't have time to worry about that right now. So what do you say to those people? How do you face some of those challenges for people trying to give time and not having enough of it to give?
Right. Well, I think sometimes when people will call, they'll say, I don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to do something. So I kind of try to connect them with maybe a one-time volunteer opportunity here and there.
Okay.
Because I think as they start to do it, then they realize it's not that hard to just work this hour into my week. But I do think I'm sympathetic. Everybody is busy. There's no doubt about it. And some people would rather have that. I want to come in once a week for a month, each month, or once a week for an hour for a month, and set it aside that way. So I just kind of try to work with them, and it just depends on the person. I do get a fair number of retired people, and like Renee mentioned earlier, I'm just kind of amazed at how many of those people are saying, well, I have a disability and I'm low income, but I really would like to volunteer in the community. I'm kind of the same thing as that you were talking about. They're very much giving back even when they themselves don't have a lot to give, and maybe they can't write a check, so they're doing it in that way.
Renee, some of the challenges that you're seeing maybe among your agencies and getting the money and getting the time and those sorts of issues?
I think that when the economy is good, always donations flow in pretty well. But when anyone is uncertain about their own personal future, that's when we do suffer a little bit. But what's always a little surprising to me is that there are people who do have more wealth, more means, and for some reason those folks seem to step up a little bit more in those years, and it seems to even things out a little bit. Okay. So we've been very, very lucky in that regard in this local area, and I'm not one bit surprised that South Dakota is number 2 in charitable giving, not one bit surprised, because we see it in our work every single day. I think probably one of the biggest challenges that we face, though, is social media is such a gift, but it's also a little frightening sometimes, because sometimes rumors get started about a particular nonprofit. Okay. And I would just encourage people to make sure that you don't take to heart everything that you read on social media. Be sure that you look at things, because people will post it assuming that it's real.
Very true.
And it many times is not when you really dig into it. And by the time that's gone out viral, it's really damaged a nonprofit when the organization has done great work.
Right. We have just a couple minutes left now, so I'm going to give you each one more chance to tell people at home kind of what they can do if they're not sure where to start, who to call, who to contact. Liz, we'll just go ahead and start with you. What do you tell people who want to give and aren't sure where to start?
Yeah. Well, we can help direct them to those agencies and organizations that are doing good work, or they can make a contribution to an endowment that already exists if they already are familiar with that organization and they want to make a contribution. That will add to that and allow that fund to grow. But we collaborate with a lot of different agencies and organizations, and we work together to help address those community needs. So that's why we're here.
All right, Lynn, go ahead and give us the website one more time, or
Sure.
the phone number, so people know where they can get started.
Easiest phone number in the world, 211. And I would tell people just to call 211 and ask for the Rapid City office, ask for Lynn, and I will do that connecting for them, or they can always go to helplinecenter.org and do it themselves. But I get a lot of calls, and I enjoy talking to people and finding out what they want to do and connecting them with agencies. So 211.
All right, sounds good. Renee, I'll let you kind of wrap things up. What are some ways that people can give? I know your campaign has kicked off, so
Yes.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit more as we round out the year, what they can do for United Way.
Well, you can always just call United Way at 343-5872, and we can tell you how many ways there are to give. You can stop into our office and learn more. Okay. You can call us and we can set you up with volunteer opportunities, and Lynn helps us a lot with that. But I think it's also a time that we all want to say thank you to this wonderful giving community who has done so much for the nonprofits here. We're very, very genuinely appreciative.
Yeah, it would be great. We're number 2 according to Wallet Hub in 2014. Wouldn't it be great to be number 1?
It would.
Let's work toward that. Okay, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Focus. I'm Julie Oberlander for Black Hills Fox News. Have a great night and enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend.